So, welcome everybody. My voice is at 96.7%. So, in this vlog, I want to talk about the three most important assets you can have going forward. Now, assets can include houses, it can include investment in stocks, it can include intellectual property, yada, 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 yada. So, you'll see in life, in economics, in business, that the value of things, the value of assets classes, an asset class, again, it could be stocks, it could be cash, it could be commodities like oil and gold, and it could be intellectual property, as I just said. So the value of asset classes will fluctuate. And once every once in a while, there will be a major change in the perceived value of a particular asset class. For example, in Europe, there was a time, maybe a couple hundred years ago, where seaside real estate was considered the worst. If you lived beside the ocean, that was the slums. It was like 200 years ago or so, maybe 300 years ago. Why was that the case? Because in those days you had pirates, and pirates would raid coastal villages. And so you didn't want to live beside the ocean because you were subject to raids. And all the rich people lived in the hills where it was safer. And of course now that we've, in Europe at least, we've taken care of piracy, people now value living by the ocean. Now, there's been a shift in value in terms of real estate values. There's all one asset class, so it's not necessarily a good example, but you get the idea. So, what are the three most valuable assets that you can develop as a developer, as an entrepreneur, as a coder, as an aspiring coder? What are the three most valuable assets? Number one, and it's the most difficult to develop, something called IP, intellectual property. Whether that be software, custom software that you own and wrote, it could be a patent for some invention you came up with, it could be a book that you write, it could be videos that you create. IPs, intellectual property, and this is something, music, that's IP as well. Now, of course, developing IP is the hardest of the assets to develop, in my opinion. And certain types of IP are going to be very, very difficult to make money with, to monetize. For instance, music. Music is much more difficult to make money with than it was 30 years ago. Not that it was easy 30 years ago, but it's even harder now, simply because everybody and his neighbor can make professional sounding music with a very simple setup. The equipment to be able to record great sounding audio is relatively inexpensive. Back 30 years ago, before the computer revolution really took over in terms of music, it was really hard. Maybe 40 years ago, you had to rent studio space and you had to go to reel tape. It was very expensive to produce a professionally sounding album. These days you can do it in your dorm room, you know. So anyway, yeah, so IP, if you can develop it will have value. So for me, my IP are my videos, my courses, and most valuable by far is Studio Web, the app and so forth. So number one asset class to develop is IP. Number two is skill sets. The more skilled you are, the better. So learning how to code, learning different languages, developing organizational skills, developing skills that are valued by other people. It's important. They have to be valued by other people. If you become an expert basket weaver, that might not be such a valuable skill, or it might be, I don't know. You know, you have to look into the market for basket weaving, but you get the idea. You have to find skills that are relevant for today and tomorrow. So skill sets, huge. And that's why in my courses, I always emphasize the basics of coding, the basics of software development, and I try to bring in the business end so that when you, as you become a coder, as you become a developer, you will come into it hopefully at a higher level than the typical person, because not only am I teaching you about coding, I'm teaching you about the business end of it, how to think of coding from real life perspective as opposed to just academic perspective. And that will already put you at an elevated level versus somebody who just learned how to code straight up. And the third most valuable asset going forward is reputation. Reputation is huge, is even more huge these days because of social media. Everybody will check up what your record is online on social media. They're going to check your Facebook, your Twitter feed, your Instagram, whatever social media network becomes popular. So you have to be very careful about the image that you put out and the your social record, if you will, because reputation is huge. You hear about it where people have been fired because of what they've done on Facebook. They've been they're not hired because of what they said have done on Facebook. Very important. Reputation is huge. So I would strongly urge you and suggest that you take care about what you say online, what you do, what you post, what you share. These things are all very important. Think twice and then act on that. Before, don't try not to be impulsive. Sometimes it's hard, I know. Trust me, I know. But there you go. Those are three most valuable assets. In summary, IP, intellectual property. Number 2, skill sets, valued skill sets. If you learn how to make horseshoes, I'm not sure how valuable that might be. So valuable skill sets. That goes with coding and everything else, speaking skills, etc., etc. And number 3 is, of course, your reputation. And that reputation goes to your network of people that you know and so on. This is extremely important. The old asset classes of value will fall away. Anything physical, I think, will fall away. Physical technologies will fall away in value. Because of robotics, AI, and automation, everything is going to drop in value, I think, over time, including houses and cars and everything else. It's just all going to drop in value over time. So I'm not sure how fast this change is going to be, but I think it will come to pass sooner than later. So again, IP, reputation, and skills. I hope you found this useful. Ciao.